Hello, 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 hello. Welcome once again. This is Pastor Larry with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. Once again, welcome to Let's Talk Marriage. We're going to be getting right into it. What we're going to be talking about today is the in-laws. Now, for many years, you've always heard the stereotype of in-laws. Oh man, we got to go to the in-laws house. The in-laws this, the in-laws that. I can't stand them people. There's some folks that really can't get along with their in-laws. It's an argument between the wife or the couple. Before they go to the in-laws house, then it's like a big deal who house they gonna go to for the holidays, and it's just a big mess. And then they get into it, and as soon as they have a discussion, they bring up the mama or go call the mama and tell her every little thing he said, and and then by the time they get over there, they looking at him funny, and he looking at them funny. He ready to go. He ain't saying nothing, giving them silent treatment, and yeah, I'm ready to go. Yeah, I can't deal with this, But you know what? It doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way at all. What we have to do is learn how to get along. And in some battles, just not worth fighting. It's not worth getting into an argument with your spouse over which in-laws house you gonna go to. Just make up your mind and go to one. If you have to, go to both of them. One on one day, one on the other day. I remember years ago, we used to go to my father's house for Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day we spent it with my wife's family, and that worked out. There was no, oh no, we ain't going. I don't want to go. And we always got along. And people, please stop comparing what goes on in your house to mama. In other words, don't be saying, oh, this don't taste like my mama's cooking. It's not supposed to taste like your mama's cooking. Those two different people. Oh, you didn't fix this like my daddy did. Of course not, he ain't your daddy. There's some things people, at least he tried. Or at least she tried. Don't be complaining about, oh, this food that don't taste right. Because my mama used to fix it this way. Then you got to get up and show her, and then got to take over the whole kitchen, trying to show her how to cook it like mama did. And you make a bigger mess than she did, when you could have just left it alone. Some battles just ain't worth fighting. To keep the peace in the home, make up your mind on who house you're going to. And then when you get that, be sociable. Don't get there and sit in the corner, looking crazy because you sitting in the corner because you don't want to be there. Don't let everybody know you don't want to be there. Even if you don't want to be there, look like you want to be there. Look like you're enjoying yourself. Hey, how you doing? Just look like you're enjoying yourself. But you know what? I've been married over 32 years. And I can honestly say I have never had that problem with my in-laws. From day one, when I went there, it just clicked. Everything just clicked, and they were nice, and they treated me nice, and there was no, oh, I don't want to go to their house. It was none of that. And on the first day that my wife met my mother and my dad, they just loved her from the beginning. And I remember her always saying, oh, Lisa sure can cook. She can cook good. She always had something positive to say about it. And when you have positive things to say about your mother and father around your children, or the in-laws around the children, it won't be a big deal. I don't want to go to grandma so and so house. I want to go to the other grandmama house. They just enjoy either one of them, because once again, life is so short. So we have to enjoy each other while we can, and don't be telling everything in your house to your mama, because then when you get over there, or especially your daddy, especially if you got one of them daddies that's real protective, and you say something about he said this to me, or he yelled at me, and a lot of times it don't be really yelling, it just be a loud discussion. That's yelling. And you get over to the house, and they looking at him funny, and the daddy-in-law ready to take him out to the shed. Yeah, man, you hurt my dog, you hurt my baby, Or some of the mother-in-laws with their son, Like, she ain't treat my son right. Look at him, he's just skin and bone. What does that mean? She ain't feeding him right. He just skin and bones. Look at him. Come on, baby, let mama fix you something. He 30, 40 years old. Come on, let me fix you. Stop it. Make some sense. And you know what? And when these things go on like this, your children notice everything. So when your children notice things like that, you're gonna mess around one of these days and say something about mom-in-law around one of them kids, and they gonna get over to the house and say something. They gonna bust you out. They gonna get over there and say, that's why my daddy say you ain't no good. That's why my daddy say you can't cook. Just crazy stuff. So you have to watch what you say around your children, and watch how we react to around our children, because children are like sponges. So we have to instill in them that either parent is a great parent. And it's all right that the mother-in-law like to spoil the kids. That's what grandparents do. They spoil their kids, especially if you got a good grandparent. Or they're going to tell you when you're wrong and tell you when you're right. But they also like to spoil their grandkids, because that's their legacy. They like to see, especially when you say, oh, he's just like his grandfather. They love to say that. They love to be a part of what you're doing. And we have to love our parents and show that love with around our children, because if you start talking about them and the kids hear that, trust me, it's gonna get out. It's not gonna be pretty. And sometimes when you go to, sometimes you have to go to their church, and when you go to their church, and you will see what wonderful people they are, because you can tell by the way the people at their church react to them, and how they react to you when you show up there. And you can tell how if there's been some bad words between you and the in-laws, and you get to their church, and the folks at the church even looking at you funny. No, this the one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could tell. He ain't no good. That's the famous word, or the worst word you can hear an in-law say. Oh, he ain't no good. Yeah, I know he ain't no good. But what we have to do is make sure that we're getting along with our in-laws and love on them, because they're not going to be here forever. My mother and my father are gone on. But while they were here, my wife enjoyed their company. She enjoyed talking to them, and enjoyed them visiting, because we go visit my father, and we always had a good time. And it was no which one we going to for the holiday. We always went to my father-in-law's house, or my father's house, on Christmas Eve, and then we'd always go to my mother-in-law's house on Christmas Day. We always spent Christmas with them, and for the most holidays we spend with them, because both of my parents are deceased now. So it is a good thing that I get along with them, because what else you gonna do when your parents deceased? We gonna do stay at home? So I really enjoy being around my in-laws. They are some of the best people, and you can tell because the way my wife is, you can tell where she get her gift of giving and charity, because that's how they are, and the gift of help, that's where she get that from, and the gift of loving and being kind to one another, because that's how she is. And she got it from them. It had to come from somewhere, so she got it from them. And it's rubbed off on my children, because my children are like that. They don't have a particular grandparent they want to go see. They just enjoy being in the presence of their grandparents. Whenever there's a holiday or something, we just all just get together and enjoy each other. But you can't do that if you're saying negative things about them, and stop comparing mama with daddy, with your husband. He don't do it that way they did it, because first of all, they're two different people. She's not going to cook like your mama, because first of all, she ain't your mama. And he's not going to fix things like your daddy did. First of all, he's not your daddy. Because there's some things he might know that he doesn't know, because because people are different. And when people are different, when you get those different people together, it's a time to enjoy each other, not to make it a thing where you don't want to go over there and you don't want to be bothered. Make sure we are enjoying each other as family, because that's very important as family people, to be a part of each other's lives, because when your children get of age, then they're going to do the same thing. How would you like when your children got of age and got married and went on off, and you don't ever see them no more? They don't contact you and nothing, because it starts from the home. If you saying bad things about the grandparents and about the in-laws, the children gonna be saying bad things about the grandparents and even about yourself. So we have to make sure that we are enjoying each other, and there's nothing wrong with being a loving family, because for so many years, especially us people of color, years ago we stuck together no matter what. Now it just seems like a big separation between generations, and it's always been a generation gap, but it's never been as bad as it is now. Now they got people hating their grandparents. I've heard so many, and I couldn't understand that. How could you hate your grandparents? And it stems from them hearing what their parents said to them when they were coming up. Oh, they were never around, or they never did nothing for me. People got a bad habit of saying that. You need to get over that. You 60, 30, 40 years old, and you still talking about what they never did for you. They did the best that they can for what they had. And people back in the day didn't have much. They didn't have much. They ain't have no whole bunch of things where there was no such thing as no stimulus back then. Folks ain't get no stimulus. They barely got a paycheck. So they did what they had to do and did what they could do. And a lot of things you didn't have is because they couldn't afford it. And they wasn't going to go out there and go run it up no credit because you wanted a G.I. Joe or a Barbie doll. They wasn't going. They got what you needed. They got the things that you needed. We didn't get no Nikes. We were lucky to get All Stars. I used to wear the generic All Star. They were called Converse something. It wasn't even All Stars. And you could find those anywhere now. These kids, they get Nikes and Jordans, and grandparents buying them Nikes and Jordan, and then some of the parents will tell the kids no, and they'll call the one that they don't get along with, the grandparent that the parent don't get along with, just to get a pair of shoes that their mama told them they wasn't gonna get, and that causes issues too. So don't be bringing things in between your grandparents and your in-laws, and because that causes so many issues. There's a whole different ball game there. So we have to make sure that we're getting along with each other and loving each other as family, because you're only going to have one family. So you have to make sure that you get along with your family, and when you get together, enjoy each other, because that time is short. Just have a good time when you get together with them, and people, listen to the stories that your in-laws are telling you, so you can pass them down to your children. I love hearing the stories that my mother used to tell me, and my grandparents. I still remember the stories that they used to tell me, and as I was able to pass them down to my children, and the stories that I get from my in-laws, because they came from a whole different area than what I came from. I was raised in the city. They were raised in the South. So that's a whole different area, and you get a different story, and it's very enjoyable. So that's why you sit down and listen to them sometime when they're talking about things from the past. I love listening to the story. I might have heard the story about 5 different times, but each time is still interesting to me. So that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy my in-laws, because I can get a story from my mother-in-law. I can get a story from my father-in-law, and some of them just be so hilarious. So, and I used to get stories from my mother, and my kids remember stories that my mother used to tell them, and things of that nature. So we have to make sure that we get along and show some love between the family members. Embrace your past, or embrace what your parents had to say to you. And we're going to be signing off, and just keep love alive in your family. This is Pastor Larry saying, let's talk marriage. We'll see you next time when we see you. Until then, God bless you, and God's will